Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Time with the Whovians United. If you've been following this channel for quite some time, you would know we made a video on the worst Doctor Who episodes ever. So we thought we would do the complete opposite today, and do a tier list on the best Doctor Who episodes, according to IMDb scores. I'm not alone today, I am with another Time with the Whovians United member.
Hello, it's me, Farron. I'm back once again.
Also, we've got a special guest with us. Please introduce yourself.
Hello.
Right, let's get into the ranking.
Okay, so Empty Child first, and it is a 9.1 according to IMDb, which is pretty good. Personally, I think it goes in loved it, so I don't think it's a masterpiece of television. I mean, it's really great, and I do completely adore it, but I think upon rewatches, it does get a bit weaker. You know, I can never disrespect Stephen Moffat, my boy.
This is going to be well controversial. Yeah, my opinion's more or less the same on Farron's there. Like, I really do enjoy this episode. I think it's one of the best offerings of Series 1. I just love the creepiness of it, and I think this was the episode where, you know, when your parents watched Classic Who, they said, like, hide behind the sofa sort of stuff. This was the episode where I sort of understood what they meant, because I could not watch this for years, because it was that terrifying, the gas mask, the fuse of the flesh, that transformation sequence, etc. And I think the whole story is very clever, but whilst I think it's really, really good, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a absolute masterpiece. It deserves to be, but I think just in my eyes, I don't know, there's probably better episodes there for me.
I'm very indifferent to you guys. I don't enjoy this episode.
No.
How does it feel to you wrong?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's maybe the time period or the pacing or the tone. I guess the thing I liked about, I mean, I'm not saying it's completely bad. I mean, the body horror is brilliant. The final scene, the Captain Jack stuff is great. And I think that the Doctor dances is, I don't even know what the story is actually. So yeah, I don't like how it's going in, yeah, it's all right.
So where are we putting it? Are we putting it in loved it then? Because I feel like we should, because the majority won here.
Yeah, democracy wins.
Now, The Girl in the Fireplace, 9.3 out of 10 according to IMDb, and honestly, so that's a better score than Empty Child and Doctor Dances, which completely agree, because it's full of, like, emotion and really cool, weird science fiction concepts, and, you know, fantastic just moments and character moments as well, and honestly, there isn't a lot of, like, action or anything. It's basically just David Tennant walking around France and a spaceship for a bit. But yeah, I genuinely think it's fantastic and a masterpiece of television. So my boy Moffat wins again. Yes.
I do agree with you on those points. I think in terms of concept and everything like that, it's really clever, but it's similar to what George said about Empty Child. I find this one a little bit boring at times, a little bit slow. Yeah, like, I mean, I still really like it. Like, I literally sat down and watched it the other day, and the emotion hits high and stuff like that. The Doctor's great in it, etc, etc. But I don't know, just when I watch it, I don't feel as energetic and like enthusiastic about it, if that makes sense. So whilst I still think it's very good television, I wouldn't say I absolutely love it, so I'm going to put it in pretty good.
So for me, I've got to say it is in loved it. So this is weird because we have pretty good, loved it, and a masterpiece of television.
I think it should go in loved it because that's in the middle of all our opinions. Imagine if the whole list is just loved it. That would be a bit anticlimactic. Blink is a 9.8 out of 10 according to IMDb, and honestly, Blink is a bit overrated. I don't like it when people say, oh, if you've never seen Doctor Who before, start with Blink, because that makes no sense, because, yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense, because the Doctor's barely in it, and it's not like any other episode.
It's not a typical Doctor Who episode. That is not the episode to introduce people to.
This is like three Moffat stories in a row. If you need any more proof that he is the best writer to ever grace Doctor Who, thanks IMDb. Anyway, so I'm going to put it in loved it, but it is very close. It is very close to being pretty good for me, but I'm going to say loved it.
Yeah, I'm on that bandwagon where I wouldn't say it's overrated as such. Actually, no, fuck it, yeah. It is a little overrated, but I suppose for good reason, because it is a very, very good episode. It is definitely one of Stephen Moffat's highlights in his career as a writer, but I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece. It's really, really good, and to be honest, I can't even name the reason what restricts it from being a masterpiece other than my own opinion, but yeah, I'd probably say Oh, I don't know. I'm torn between loved it or pretty good. I'd say pretty good, just because I don't find myself going back to rewatch Blink a lot. There's episodes I tend to hold to a higher regard in that context than Blink, but still pretty good episode.
Well, for me, is that I've got it's absolutely perfect in my opinion. It's in my top 10. Not my favorite episode, and this episode is perfectly directed, perfectly acted. The script, I read 10 pages of the script, and it's brilliant. So I've got to put it in a masterpiece of television.
We're going to say loved it.
Yeah, loved is fine. I think I might even push my opinion up to loved it because it is pretty good. I feel like I'm rating these episodes too harshly. I feel a bit guilty in a weird way.
I feel like we need to be harsher. Like, seriously. So Forest of the Dead is a 9.5 out of 10 according to IMDb, and I agree because it's fantastic. Just the whole story, I think, is just complete masterwork of not only Doctor Who but television. It is the perfect mix of science fiction and horror and emotion. Also, I feel like the thing that doesn't get enough praise is the whole thing with Donna's world that she, thinks up for herself. Perfect horror.
Yes. Oh, it's so well executed to really make it feel like a dream. It's so weirdly creepy, but it's calm.
I know. Also, WandaVision stole it.
Never seen it. I don't care about Marvel in the slightest.
People who have seen WandaVision will understand what I'm saying. Yeah, Forest of the Dead, I'm putting in a masterpiece of television. I don't care. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I watched it last night, actually, funny enough. The whole two-parter, because I just thought, I had my Chinese takeaway with me. I was like, I'm going to put some two-parter of Doctor Who on, and I chose Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead because I'd not watched it in literal years, because it was always a two-parter that I didn't particularly dislike. It was just one I never found that entertaining, and after rewatching it, I think I have neglected it criminally, to be honest. The whole story, it's really good. Yeah, I'm going to put it in loved it. Again, I'm ashamed I actually neglected it for that many years.
I agree with Farron. I'm going to put this in a masterpiece of television. Right, we're going to put it... So there's two masterpieces of television. So we finally got out of the loved it streak.
Wahey!
End of Time Part 2 is an 8.9 out of 10 according to IMDb. Honestly, I don't even think it deserves to be an 8.9. I feel like that's a bit too high. Fun fact, this was the first David Tennant story I watched, so, yeah, not a very good one to start with.
Yeah, when he literally dies.
Farron has a sinister past.
Yeah, that's so cruel.
No, it was just randomly downloaded on my old iPad. I think my brother downloaded it, and so I just watched the second part.
That's basically how Ten met River's song when she died.
It is. I did a timey-wimey thing. I don't know. End of Time Part 2. So I feel like I do like it more than most people. I think the last time I watched this was last year, and I do enjoy the plot and everything with the Time Lords and everything. It does feel very large scale, and it is something that you need to round off Russell T Davies' era, and it feels great. It's brilliant concept and everything. It's just the execution of it. I feel like I feel like there's just too much. There's too much going on. So, End of Time Part 2, I'm gonna say it's pretty good.
End of Time Part 2, I don't love that two-parter for the story particularly, because there's some areas where it is fairly weak. I'm not really watching it for the story. I think purely because I do like regeneration stories, and I very much like that regeneration two-parter. But yeah, I like it because, as a whole at least, I like it because you got the Doctor and the Master. I think Tennant's and Sim's chemistry with each other is fantastic. I love Wilf in that episode. The scenes with David, the Doctor being like, I'm going to die, I don't want to die, found it really emotional, especially as I was my favourite Doctor. And I'd say Part 2, it might be slightly weaker than Part 1, maybe a little bit. The emotional highs, they hit high, and I think just because I like a bit of sadness when I watch TV sometimes, especially characters I'm attached to, I love it for it, so I'm going to put it in loved it.
I watched this quite recently. It's the last episode I've seen of Doctor Who in the last month or so. I filmed my reaction to you guys when Ten left, and I was in an emotional wreck because Ten's gone, my favourite Doctor. The story overall wasn't great, and I think the RTD era should have ended in Journey's End. I think that was a perfect, good rounded ending for his era. But what we got was great. I think the character interactions between Wilf and Ten was absolutely brilliant, and I think that's what RTD's really good at, characters. I put it in pretty good. Right, where are we going to put it?
I'm going to put it in loved it. Well, that's my personal... Wait, what was everyone else's?
I'm gonna put it in. I'll put it in pretty good.
Yeah, I put it in pretty good as well.
All right, pretty good.
We got our first pretty good.
The Pandorica Opens is a 9.1 out of 10 according to IMDb. Honestly, I think it should be higher. I love this episode and I love this two-parter. I think The Big Bang is better, but the build-up, like in this episode, it's probably the best part 1 episode in New Who, maybe, apart from World Enough Time. The speech on Stonehenge is perfect. The reveal of the Pandorica being empty is perfect. Seeing all the villains come together, brilliant. The music and the emotion at the end when Amy gets shot, it's so sad. And it's actually the first time I cried at Doctor Who, because, like, I didn't know. I thought, like, Doctor Who was just gonna end.
I actually haven't ever cried at Doctor Who.
You haven't ever cried at Doctor Who? Anyway, yeah, so Pandorica Opens, I'm going to put in a masterpiece of television. Perfect.
Yeah, I think this is the last truly great finale we've had, which is such a shame because, yeah, basically what everything Farron said, it was just the build-up is fantastic. Music is great. The Alliance, I love that concept. It just really hammers home, wow, this shit is big. Like, the stakes were just so high, and I think it's probably one of my favourite ever cliffhangers as well, because you've got that lovely shot pulling out of Earth, and you see, you know, stars exploding or whatever, yeah, and then it just pauses as Earth fades to black or something, and then for a good few seconds there's just silence, and you're like, it truly emulates that feeling of the universe was ending. You know what? I'm feeling good. Let's put it in masterpiece today.
Right, I love this episode. I really do. It's one of my favourite cliffhangers. Overall, my favourite cliffhanger is the Master in Utopia, but this is my second favourite. The music, like my favourite soundtrack of Doctor Who is Life and Death of Amy Pond. I also feel like, you know, the opening scene where every episode tied into this finale with me and all these old characters we met in the previous episode, I think it's done really well. I feel like, in my opinion, this is the last decent season of Doctor Who. Yeah,
season 5 was the last of.
And the story, this is Stephen Moffat's best story arc. I just don't think.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember the hybrid? What the fuck was that? There was no resolution to it either. It's just like, oh, I could be a hybrid, and then that's it. Oh, Clara's dead.
Anyways, Pandorica Opens for me is something we can all agree on. It's a masterpiece of television.
Yay! We won. Good Man Goes to War is a 9.1 out of 10. Honestly, I think it should be a bit lower. I haven't seen this story in a few years. I do really think it is very intense. It feels more like a finale than The Wedding River Song did, which is strange. And I think the reveal at the end of who River Song is, that was, like, very shocking to me, like, as a child. And it's a fantastic reveal, and I just love the bit at the end where, like, there's no dialogue between the Doctor and River, but she's just like, I am telling you, and then it, like, clicks in the Doctor's mind. I'm like, yeah, it's great. So yeah, I'm gonna put A Good Man Goes to War in, even though I've just said so many good things about it, it doesn't stick with me, which is weird. And I think it is just because of the setting. It doesn't feel very grandiose, you know? So I'm gonna put it in pretty good.
Alright. I'm going to put it in, yeah, it's alright. I think I do like the whole Demon's Run thing. The key bit I love is Matt Smith's confrontation of the Colonel and stuff like that. You know, he's shown his darker side, really sort of getting angry and stuff like that. I think it really shows Matt Smith's Doctor one of his best. You know, he balances this, you know, quirky, childish Doctor, but there's also old man, dark side to him. I think that balance is fantastic. The Headless Monks were quite a creepy concept. I really liked them. But I think, yeah, other than that, it introduced Vastra, who I'm really not a fan of in the later episodes.
Oh. I was nodding, like, yep, she's great, and then you were like, I'm really not a fan of her. I was like, okay. I was like, it's just...
Okay, look, she's fine in that episode, but when they do this stupid Paternoster gang shit, no, not a fan. Like,
I like them.
But I think, yeah, with all that considered, it's not an episode I find myself re-watching unless I'm doing rerun. Sorry, there's some pigeons having sex outside my window.
What?
Okay, sorry, I just looked up, I was like, hang on a minute, what are they up to?
Please put this in the video.
Oh, there's some juicy drama happening here. There was a third pigeon rocking up. I think he just got caught cheating.
Love Island with pigeons? What? God.
Okay, but yeah, okay, yeah, and anyway, getting back on track, yeah, I don't really find myself watching this episode unless I'm doing a rerun, like a binge watch of all the series, so, like, I'll never put this episode on individually, but I don't hate it, so I'm just going to put it in, yeah, it's alright.
Hi guys. Good Man Goes to War. It was fun. The music was great. The villain, what's the eye patch lady?
Madame Kavarian?
In this series, she has some great setup moments, and when you actually see her in a main part, she's useless. So I thought that was pointless.
She had like 3 minutes screen time, didn't she? Something silly like that.
Yeah, I think it was good. Good kind of thing. I'm just gonna say loved it because I feel like you guys already established it. It's good.
Should we say pretty good then, as a whole?
Yeah, sort of puts in the middle, doesn't it? Oh, what's next?
Angels Take Manhattan is a 9 out of 10. Honestly, I don't love this episode as much as everybody else does. Sorry.
Who does love this episode? I don't understand.
I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say that this episode is, like, really great and something really special. I feel like it is just because, like, I'm not a big fan of Series 7A, which is weird, because I love Series 7B.
Nah. Series 7A is superior over Series 7B, and Series 7A is still crap.
No, it's not. Series 7B is perfect. Anyway, yeah, so Angels Take Manhattan is a weird episode because I completely love the ending and it makes me cry, but the rest of the episode just feels a bit lackluster, honestly, and it's a bit weird having this in the middle of a series, you know? I don't know, I don't like the mid-series gap. It's weird. What do you think?
I miss the old layout the Russell T Davies series had. They were great. 3 two-parters and single episodes in between.
Yeah, like, because it was April to June, 13 episodes, and then a Christmas special, and it felt balanced.
This was when life made sense.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm just going to say Angels Take Manhattan is pretty good.
Alright, yeah, I'm going to put it in, yeah, it's alright again, just because, you either have one choice, like, you could either have had a Weeping Angel episode, or you could have had a Companion Departure episode. I don't think the two worked that well together, because whilst the Weeping Angels...
You gotta pick one. George knows this.
Because the Weeping Angels are such a good villain, and this episode did just dampen them down a bit, because obviously some of the focus was a little bit on Rory and Amy's departure, and because of that, they didn't get done.
It didn't do them any favours. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't really. And there was some... I loved the concept of the Weeping Angels having this whole battery farm thing, where they, you know, let humans live to death and they feed on that energy. That is a really cool idea, like for, you know, these scavenger angels, I suppose. What I didn't like was the massive statue chopping around New York City as if no one can bloody see it. Stephen Moffat was just like, that was cocaine night in the writer's room, I reckon. But everyone cannot see it for some reason. Like, it makes no sense. The city that never sleeps. That's literally what the city is called. I don't know why they threw that in. But yeah, I think their departure was nice enough, you know, Amy making that decision. But then obviously there's some plot holes like why can't he go back to New York and stuff like that. And
I think it's just because there is an explanation for that. I think it's because the Doctor does say after they do the whole paradox thing and right before Rory goes and sees the gravestone, he says like massive surge of time energy or something, and we can't ever come here again because of the paradox and everything.
But can he just like get a plane or bus into New York City if he just travelled outside of it? Or could an Amy travel outside and meet him?
Well, shut up, okay? It's Doctor Who. None of this makes sense.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's alright. It's a decent departure, I suppose, but on its own merit, it's just not amazing for me.
The only reason why this is very high on people's list is because it's Amy and Rory's farewell. If this was an ordinary story, it would be rated much lower. I think the narration from the book, obviously when the Doctor and Amy is reading from the book and Rory's getting coffee and then boom, he gets zapped by a Weeping Angel, I think that's directed brilliantly. Some things don't make sense, as you guys say, so I'm just going to say it's pretty good.
So wait, so where are we putting... Oh, okay, we put it in pretty good. Okay. Day of the Doctor is a 9.4 out of 10. Honestly, I think it should be higher. Not because it's a... I don't think... Here's the thing. The weird thing about Day of the Doctor is that, to me, as a fan of Doctor Who, it's a masterpiece of television. But if you weren't a fan of Doctor Who, this would not be a masterpiece of television. It is pure fan service for 75 minutes, and I completely love it. It is so amazing. I think I did have a bit of a dip around like 2018 where I was like, it's not as good as I remember. But then I watched it again like a few years later and I was like, no, it's brilliant. It is like really inconceivable to me is like how Stephen Moffat pulled this off as well as he did. Yeah, no, and especially like hearing all the behind the scenes stuff and all the problems that there was with him, not only with him.
Oh, was it actually bit of drama back behind scene.
Yeah, honestly, like, it had, like, a lot of issues, like, behind the scenes, like, with writing and contracts and everything. If you go and see an interview that he did, it is completely inconceivable to me, like, that he pulled this off as well as he did, because Day of the Doctor is fantastic. And it just gets better, I feel like. The bigger Doctor Who fan you are, maybe... no, that's stupid. I'm not going to say that, because there is no positive correlation, because I'm sure I've heard, like, a super fan of Doctor Who say that they really don't like it. But whatever. You know what? Day of the Doctor is fantastic, and I'm going to say masterpiece of television.
Alright. Yeah, I remember this was such an event for me when I was younger, because this was 2013. Was it released? Was it? So I would have been, let's see, that was 8 years ago. I was 15 years old when I went and saw this in cinemas. Like, properly, yeah, I know, fucking hell, 8 years. Oh, I'm so old, Jesus.
I was like 7, 8, I don't know. Yeah, just wasn't even born? Question mark.
Oh, was it a fetus? No. I just remember, I was so gassed for this though, I remember. It was that point I was watching Doctor Who for a few years. I loved that David Tennant returned for it. I loved the War Doctor. Probably would have preferred to see Christopher Eccleston be the man who ended the Time War, but I still love John Hurst, the War Doctor. He's such a welcome addition. I'm not too sure how I feel about them bringing Gallifrey back, because I thought that was quite a good plot point for the character, and whilst I don't mind it, especially now as it's not really relevant anymore, it still renders some things, like, wouldn't that just reset the whole of the Doctor's timeline, just timey-wimey stuff. But yeah, it is basically just fan service, and I can't hate it at all, so I'm just going to put it in pretty good.
Wow, that's well, I agree with everything you guys said. It was obviously seeing Tennant, my boy Tennant, up back without his sticky up hair, that was a disappointment.
That was so depressing, wasn't it? It was like erectile dysfunction.
Yeah, I just loved it. I just loved the story. It was the last time Doctor was properly, I wouldn't say relevant, but last time people who I socialise with talk about it.
That's true, actually, because my non-Whovian friends came and watched it with me, and even they loved it.
A reason why it's a masterpiece of television. I don't care what people say, it's great. I want to watch it again. Yeah.
Listen, it's an 8.9 out of 10. Honestly, I think it should be higher. Well, here's the thing, I know a lot of people don't like Listen, and honestly, I remember watching the story when it first came out and thinking that was amazing. Like, it completely blew me away on first rewatch. I watched it again in 2018, and I was like, oh, it's not as good as I remember. And then last week, I basically rewatched it again, because I watched enough clips on YouTube to have basically just watched the entire episode again. And honestly, completely adore Listen. Brilliant concept, brilliant acting, just all around. Fantastic, witty, clever dialogue. Just Capaldi's speech at the start would score this episode as, like, masterpiece television. But obviously there is the rest of the episode to talk about. The Danny Pink stuff does let it down a bit, but I think it is great. I think it's fantastic, and it's so great. It's so creepy, and it's actually really emotional towards the end, and it's so good. It's so good. We need more episodes like it. I'm gonna put it in loved it.
I don't know about this one, because whilst I don't think it's bad by any means, I don't find myself watching it too much. I don't really know why though. It might just be a case of Silence in the Library I just neglected, but I did watch it maybe a month ago, and yeah, it is really good. I think it's probably one of the better offerings of season 8. I think Capaldi's great in it. This is probably the episode when I started to really get into who his Doctor was, because it was admittedly a little tough at the start. But that's just because we haven't had a Doctor this harsh or, like, you know, like that for a while. Yeah, I thought it was really good. The concept is brilliant. I loved the twist ending at the end, you know, of Clara actually being birthing the Doctor's irrational fear of someone grabbing his foot. And that is saying something for me, because I'm not someone who enjoyed the Impossible Girl retcon thing, so I didn't mind this too much. I didn't even mind the stuff with Sam, what's his name? The actor's called Sam, sorry. Danny. Yeah, I'm going to put it, whilst I think it's really good, I'm not going to say I love it, so I'm going to put it in pretty good.
I don't really like this episode. I think the best part of this episode is with Clara and Danny Pink. I don't really like the story. Yeah, I don't really understand it. This whole episode, I don't really want to watch again, so I'm going to put it on yes. Yeah, it's alright.
Where are we putting it then?
So we have loved it, pretty good. Yes, we're going to put on pretty good, aren't we?
Wait, I said a masterpiece television? Oh no, I said loved it, didn't I? Oh yeah, okay, it doesn't matter.
Okay, there we go.
Heaven Sent is a 9.6 out of 10, and come on, we don't even need to talk about this. We all know where it's going to go.
It's a masterpiece of television.
It's a masterpiece of television. Do you agree, Sam?
Oh, no. I wouldn't say this is masterpiece television. I think this is overrated.
What?
I gotta say, like, this isn't a popcorn watch. You've got to really freaking focus for this episode, in my opinion. Which I find it, like, compared to, like, what's the episode called? Dempsey Child. It can be boring in some bits, but it's also powerful about grief, and like this whole episode is visually told about grief, a metaphor about breaking the wall, the glass
Diamond thing,
which obviously is getting over the grief for like, and it takes like 4 billion years. That is a better done metaphor than Listen. So masterpiece of television.
At least Listens was subtle. That's not a slight against Heaven Sent, by the way. I love it.
Right, Sam, I feel like you're the only one who is conflicted, so please, can you elaborate?
Yeah, whilst I do agree it's a very good episode and Hellbent somewhat makes it redundant, I don't find myself switching it on to rewatch it so much. I do find this a little dull at times, a tiny bit, but not too much. Not enough where I'm just like, oh god, I'll switch this off. Because Capaldi on his own, essentially, because he's not talking to anyone until right at the end, more or less, or whenever he does. Yeah, fantastic. It just really shows how much he can keep your attention in such a limited sort of space, but he didn't. And I love the metaphor for grief. I love what he was talking about. What was it? No, the emotional points he had, like especially like it's sort of relatable in a little bit, like stuff where he says, "Oh, why can't I just lose?" And is that bit where he almost breaks down. It's like, oh, you do really feel sad for him. But then, actually, to be honest, I'm trying to think of what does restrict this from being a masterpiece for me. I don't know, maybe because it's just, I don't think there's anything that could restrict it from being a masterpiece as such. I just personally don't rate it that highly, so I'm just going to put it in loved it, I suppose.
I feel like the only thing negative is that you've got to really focus, and it can be boring in some parts. So I want to say it's a masterpiece of television. Yeah, are we all going to agree it's in a masterpiece?
Yep.
If mine's in the middle, yeah.
World Enough in Time is a 9.2 out of 10, according to IMDb. I love it so much. One of my absolute favourite episodes of Doctor Who. I think it's a masterpiece of television. It is a masterwork in horror, science fiction, emotion. I was traumatised, just, you know, it's so, and there's a lot of funny moments as well. The tone is incredibly well balanced. He does Venusian Aikido, and it's great. And he wears the nice velvet jacket. I know these are completely irrelevant details, but, you know, they're in there, and I love the dynamics between all the characters, and the reveal of John Sim and the Mondasian Cybermen. Even though we knew it, they're still great reveals, you know. And the reveal of Bill being a Cyberman, it's just like, oh god, it's so sad, and it's just like, oh god, it's so great. Masterpiece of television. Sam, go.
Yeah, another one where I don't really understand why people love it so much. I don't know, I do really like the whole build up to the classic Cyberman thing and that really creepy body horror aspect of it, where, you know, that one patient, I suppose, you know, pressing the pain button or whatever, like help, pain, etc. All those sequences actually of Bill slowly being converted into a Cyberman was really good, but I found the bits with Capaldi back on the top layer of the ship or whatever a little dull, and I regard this episode, let's put it this way, like I couldn't watch this episode on its own, I'd have to watch it with the Dr. Falls just for context. Like I couldn't just sit down and watch this one, and I think it is ruined. The episode's ruined slightly. How John Sim is really like, he's revealed in the trailer as well, like for the series trailer. So I think that might have held back my love for this episode a bit more because there was no sort of surprise reveal. Yeah, I'm struggling to think because it's not an episode I'd watch at all, to be honest. So I'll just put it in. Fuck it, I don't know. Yeah, it's all right. I'll just put it in that, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I think all the stuff with 12 after Bill gets captured, I don't really like until the ending. But the whole science stuff about the black hole slowing time from, you know, front of the ship, back of the ship, all that. I think that's a great concept. And Bill's on the other end, and the Doctor, they're both trapped. And that final scene, like, I think that's get close to Pandorica Opus. I love the music. The direction's great. So I'm going to put it on Loved It. So where are we going to put it?
Probably loved it.
Loved it. Yeah. Okay, so Rosa is a 6.9 out of 10, and honestly, Yeah, it's good. I like it. I think it is the best episode out of Series 11, like, just realistically speaking. I don't really have much to say about it, because I haven't seen it since it was first broadcast, actually. I think the only thing that lets it down is just the ending.
Oh, that ruined that scene so much. It would have been so good if it was just dead silence.
I think the only thing that lets it down is the ending, maybe. Could have been better, which I can say that about all of Series 11. So, you know, I'm gonna say, yeah, it's alright, but I do quite like it.
Alright, yeah, this is my favourite Whittaker episode in Series 11, I'd say. I really did like the concept. At first, when I saw it, it's like, oh dear, it's going to be boring, but no, it was actually, I really actually ended up liking it, and I haven't watched it for a while, and I probably should. It's overdue, I should probably watch it again, but I didn't mind the villain. I don't exactly like him. I didn't think he was exactly the most thrilling thing ever, but it served his purpose at the end of the day. The one thing I can just say I really didn't like was that bloody music they slapped over that, what could have been a really impactful scene, but regarding that, I'm going to put it in pretty good.
Wow, this episode isn't my favourite episode of Series 11. It goes to It Takes You Away. Even though I don't like this episode, I think the concept of It Takes You Away is great. It could have been a two-parter. You know, the negative parts is the music, Kraska. I said that in our villain ranked video that you should watch, as all three of us are in it. But yeah, it's alright, which I think we can all agree on.
Yeah, okay.
Fugitive of the Jadoon is a 7.4 out of 10. It's fine. You know, I actually quite liked it on first broadcast, but obviously thinking about it more, it was just completely just, you know... Whereas with, like, something like Day of the Doctor, where, like, the fan service is warranted and it's important to the story and everything, like, the whole thing to do with the Time War. And obviously it's the 50th. You know, you kind of need it. This is just, like, revelation for the sake of revelation, and it's just like, okay, why... Realistically, this probably is the best episode of Series 12. I think Jo Martin, perfect. She's great. And,
No. I just don't like her in this.
What? She's great. I actually really like her.
I don't know. I think, actually, to be fair, it's probably not her fault. I just hate the timeless children thing. So.
No, I know I don't like the revelation either, but, I think she's a good Doctor. But yeah, it's fine. I'm going to say, yeah, it's alright.
I'm going to put, don't like it, haven't watched it since, not good at all. It can get in the bin.
I'm just going to put on, yeah, it's alright. Could get on not good at all, but, like, let's be honest, it is the only episode of that series which is enjoyable to watch, apart from Nikola Tesla and Resolution. Where we're going to put it?
I don't mind him. A Christmas Carol is an 8.6 out of 10 on IMDb, which is very surprising to me. I honestly thought it'd be higher. My favourite Christmas special. I think it's perfect in every way, and it's really fun, and it's actually quite emotional, and it's very good. I actually watched it at Christmas last year, and yeah, I'm honestly going to say masterpiece of television. I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, I share the same opinion. This is a masterpiece of television. It's not my favourite Christmas special. It's my second favourite, Voyage of the Damned.
Sam, we agree on everything.
Yes, we do. But whilst that is my favourite Christmas special, I do believe this one probably captures the Christmas feel the most. And I just love this, just the spin of the Christmas Carol thing. I just love it. I love the whole, he showed, you know, child him, what he becomes at the end and stuff like that. I love Katherine Jenkins in this, she's great. I love Michael Gambon in it, who plays Sardik. He's great. Everything's great. Episode is just amazing in every way. I can't fault it. It's just, yeah, fantastic. It's the last truly best Christmas episode we've had.
I agree with you guys. It is a masterpiece of television. Not my favourite, because I think Voyage of the Damned is the best Christmas special.
Boy.
Baron, you're just not an RTD fanboy. I think, like, the story of Christmas Carol, the original story, like, it took a Doctor Who filter of that story, which I think is great. It is a masterpiece of television.
There we have it, that is our tier list on the best Doctor Who episodes ever. Make sure to comment down your scores, or do it yourself and send it to our Discord. Please make sure to check out Sam's channel. We did a collaboration video on his channel, so here's a little snippet of it. The Bating episode. I don't like this episode at all. There's a few great moments, like, what's his name? Doctor Dude.
I really, really hope he had a cesarean, because if he didn't, where did he give birth from?
I mean, we can only assume his penis.
Make sure to like, comment, join all our social medias, and subscribe to us. Side note, my first Sarah Jane video review will be out in the next few weeks, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Alright, we will see you next time. Goodbye.